Recently, we've gotten a lot of information about Subnautica 2, and now we're actually getting early access to the game later this year. As a result, you've probably already seen a bunch of videos of people saying what they want Subnautica 2 to have and what they want from the game. But today,
reverse it.
Even though there will still be some overlap, rather than explaining what I want from Subnautica 2 to have, I'm going to discuss what I don't want from the game. These are 5 things Subnautica 2 does not need.
Oxygen.
Subnautica was undoubtedly an amazing and remarkably successful video game. However, just like all great things, some people don't like it. One of these criticisms is the lack of direction and guidance. Pretty much as soon as you enter 4546B, the game forces you to figure out what you need to do and how to do it. Of course, you'll get the occasional radio message with some coordinates for important places and little helpful tips from your PDAs such as this one.
Detecting multiple Leviathan class life forms in the region. Are you certain whatever you're doing is worth it?
Yes.
But the only time I can think of when the PDA holds your hand by giving you the exact location of a place you are required to visit is the mountain island. It's up to you to find entrances to the Lost River, to navigate your way through the inactive and active lava zones, and to find the necessary plants to craft the hatching enzymes. So while I can understand this critique of not knowing where to go and what to do, I would argue that for a game like Subnautica, it's better to have too little direction rather than too much. I'll even admit that there's totally a lack of direction, but it's not a bad thing because it fits perfectly into Subnautica's whole atmosphere and theme of being alone. When you're all alone on an alien planet and hardly receive any form of guidance, you feel it. Conversely, when you're not alone and the game provides you with a lot of assistance, you feel it, in this case for the worse. It's funny how Subnautica, the much more successful game, was criticized for a lack of direction, while Below Zero was more widely disliked because of its abundance of direction and holding our hand. Honestly, maybe Subnautica 2 shouldn't even have a PDA at all, because when you have guys like this legend, who needs a PDA?
Oh, sir, are you crying?
It's supposed to be 40 feet tall.
I'll explain it all when I get back.
No need to. I can see it right here. Do you see that, Junior? It's even bigger than I ever imagined.
If you were to ask me what my least favorite aspect of Below Zero is, I would say there's too much walking in the game. Below Zero's map is already small enough compared to Subnautica's, so forcing the player to walk around huge quantities of land makes the underwater map that much smaller. I can understand if the developers were trying to make Below Zero feel more different, but I think it backfired in this case. Subnautica had a much better balance between swimming or just being underwater and walking. Like the islands, the aurora, the various alien facilities, and even just walking around your Cyclops counts too. These occasional land experiences kept gameplay fresh and alive. They didn't allow the player to fall into a constantly bored sense of being submerged. So I'm totally fine with some land, and I hope there's some in Subnautica 2, but just not nearly as much as in Below Zero. And if Subnautica 2 sadly does have large portions of land, at least provide us with functional vehicles this time. Please, please, my goodness.
Oh, wow. So do you have any live people?
No.
Whether you like Subnautica better than Below Zero or vice versa, I think we can all agree that the franchise thrives on making you feel alone. When you hear voices from other survivors but never actually see the faces, the experience feels compelling and engaging. On the other hand, when you hear your own voice, other voices, and interact with other people, it just kind of feels weird, at least compared to how Subnautica was. Having other living people on an alien planet just kind of throws off the whole vibe, and that's kind of why I'm worried about co-op. Obviously, we're getting co-op, it's already been confirmed, but I don't think Subnautica 2 needs any other living people in its game. Or what if we had an NPC to interact with early on, but then they just die later on as we progress? That'd be a pretty cool compromise, just saying.
And by the way, you know, when you're telling these little stories, here's a good idea. Have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener.
It's pretty impressive that a game originally released in 2014 is still consistently producing high-quality content on platforms like YouTube. Of course, the series is lucky to have such a committed fan base who craft their own mods, but the developers deserve their credit here. I think one of the main reasons people still make content about Subnautica is because its story was so open-ended, leaving your imagination to fill in the gaps. Its ability to generate lore goes insanely deep. Now that's not to say that Below Zero doesn't leave us with any unanswered questions in lore, but Subnautica has way more. Maybe that's because Subnautica came before Below Zero, but I think we all know the reasons go far beyond that. Sometimes not painting the whole picture makes for a more engaging experience. Subnautica 2 does not need to follow Below Zero's example by crafting a one-dimensional, straightforward story.
I've enjoyed the chase, Gato. But I think we've reached the end now, you and I.
In conclusion, OG Subnautica was really good. Below Zero, not so much. If you're familiar with these things I presented on in this video, I'm sure you noticed that most of them stem from Below Zero. So as long as Subnautica 2 follows Subnautica's general lead more than Below Zero's, I think the game will be just fine. Obviously, I don't want the two to be the same, and I don't expect perfection from the producers because that's just being unreasonable, but I think these are just some really important things that Subnautica 2 does not need. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed.